Hey, assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to our weekly meeting with Brother Muhammad. And as we're going through this transformation, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Muhammad. Welcome back again.
Yeah, wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh, brother Maruf. Alhamdulillah, man. All's well. Hope you're I'm stoked as always every week to learn something new and inch closer get closer and closer to that goal. So we'll see.
Absolutely. I mean, as we were discussing with you, right? We discussed the purpose of life, purpose of potentially you, and we also reviewed what are the options. And today, I just wanna let me share where we are today, right? So if I'm gonna share this one, so as you can see, right, um, as we discussed, there are 7 steps to success here and hereafter in both worlds, from purpose to prosperity is what we're calling it. So, um, so we discussed the purpose part, right, in the last 2 or 3 sessions, as you remember, and now we are on a path. The path, in a way that we have to take a pause from things we learned and take a kind of decision. Which path are we going to go, right? Is it going to be the product, like what I mean, product, service, whatever, all the things we learned, right? It's going to be entrepreneurship road, or it's going to be employee, right? It means instead of creating something new, maybe you can join other people who are already doing that, right? Organization. So that's where it is. So today we're going to choose among these 2 things, right? So, but first, let's review what we have learned so far, and I mean, most importantly, like what have you learned so far, and was there anything like aha moments for you that you kind of figure out as something interesting and you learned about yourself?
Alhamdulillah. Well, in terms of overall the grand scheme of things, we tackled initially on the purpose of it's always easy to just whip past stuff and just go through the day to day. But when you stop and look at yourself as a little speck on in the grand scheme of things, subhanAllah, the origin story, shaitan, and Adam alayhi salam, and like what's the whole point of why we're here? It's really where do you fit into that world picture was a nice way to zoom out and really say, okay, well, how can I make sure that, and how inshallah all of us here can make sure that we don't end up in the same fate as Iblis. So that was one thing. We
Mhm.
talked, I believe, last week about the hierarchy of needs, the 6 core needs as well by Tony Robbins. One of the biggest aha moments for me with that is not to assume that everyone's in the same stage. That was a good moment, I thought. Like, mashallah, you got to think of people. Maybe some people are just ground level, right, from the base. And then you got to cater to that first. You got to have food in your mouth before you can start thinking about having friends. So it's always knowing and identifying, okay, where are you in this hierarchy? And then just speaking to that particular one. And there are ways, I'm sure, that you can address the same message, but just repackage it to for all those different levels. For the self-actualization, you got all the money in the world, you got everything, but you don't feel like you're living that purpose.
Fulfilled, yeah.
Yeah. So then how does communication get to that? And there's that versus someone who, let's just say, is struggling with security. And also, subhanAllah, now you're aware of the world events that's happening. SubhanAllah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect, the innocent.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely. And the people, I mean, the people always suffer in the war. As you mentioned, like that's actually a good example in a bad situation, but a good example, right? Imagine people right now in Ukraine right now. We are doing this in February, last days of February, which is yesterday we heard the troops are moving in. In that state, you cannot think about something bright about your future, right? Even how much as you want that, that your surroundings, that maybe the you hear the shots and you're in a war zone, right? And alhamdulillah, we are not in that state as we are right in Canada. As you said, we pray for the well-being of people, no matter where they are, whoever they are, right? Muslim, non-Muslim, it doesn't matter. But as a human dignity, humanity, we want peace, right? So may Allah make it easy on them. And also, at one point you brought up, as you said, people are in different states, right? That's what we're discussing. And more moving forward, why we did the like one thing always amazes me is that we don't know who's gonna watch this. We don't know at the point. Some people, they look at it as I say, these guys are really crazy cuckoo. They believe in all this the stories of the ancient and all fables. there's some kind of entity, devil, and this and that. You see that's the thing. Like every person has their own belief, right? And we somehow choose to believe this is the more accurate. That's our opinion, and everybody has the freedom to think what they want, what they need. In the end, you have to make a choice for yourself, right? So why am I mentioning is that up until moment, like if you see the world like as we did, like 2 billion Muslims do, and the moving forward makes sense. Otherwise, it may not make sense. It's more like a fairy tale, this and that. By the end of the day, everyone has a belief. Even you think you don't have a belief, that's your belief, right? You may not believe in anything. It's a fairy tale. That's okay. That's your belief. So all of us have to believe in something. And in our case, as we said, even that's what we wanted the origin story, right? What we are, I think the humanity, you and me, are looking for is that we want to trust me. We want one of the things, if you meant the core humanity, is to we want to matter. We want to do something meaningful, right? And for that, I was trying to give like a blank slate in our hands. That's yours. You draw that as the way you want, and you want a success. Here are the steps to success. It's not complicated, man. You just do what you I mean, each of us have their own unique characteristics, right? And follow that. Just follow my guidelines, follow my reminders. I mean, as long as you hold on to the rope, this is a beautiful, isn't it? Also, it's not saying that you have to score 90 out of 100. No, as long as you hold on, as long as you're humble, as long as you do tawbah and keep coming back, you can still have I mean, you have hope on my mercy, right? As if almost, I mean, we believe that Allah SWT promised to be true, right? You and we believe that, and there's no question about it. And as Allah SWT said, the pens are dry. It's everything been written. Like if you are good, Allah SWT said in the Quran, you will get a reward. If you're bad, you will get your punishment, whatever. So as if the things are put in motion, rules are there. The question is not about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The question is not about if there's a heaven and hell, according to our belief. The question is, where are we going to end up? And that even that, primarily in our hands, right? What I mean by in our hands is that it's our attitude. Everything comes down to, I guess, guidance and attitude, one word, right? If you change your attitude to the world and say, look, maybe I'm a small speck, but I have I believe I have my purpose for Muhammad is help Muslims with how to communicate better, right?
Mhm.
And then once this is a big vision, this is the story of your life, and how now that you can figure out, get that vision, get the story, and make something your source of living, income. And there are some people in the world, Muhammad, is that they may know that because a lot of people they may not know their purpose in life. They just live their life, unfortunately, that by their whims, right? They want to do this today, they do that. They want to do that today. Alhamdulillah, that we have spent some time with you together to figure out what that purpose is. So, but unfortunately, there are some people who may know their purpose, but what they do, they don't follow the purpose, but they go and get a job which they are not passionate about, right? And they do that as the main thing. And this thing they may do once in a while, right? Whenever they feel like to. But our approach is no, none of those approaches are right. Our approach is we do what you're really good at and passionate about. The only difference now we're on a path to figure out, are
Mhm.
you going to create something around your passion, right? It could be coaching, it could be many products we learn that, which is not easy, but if it works, it will be a lot of rewards. Or the option two is now since we know your passion, maybe we'll look at around who is doing what, right? Maybe some organizations are doing amazing jobs in uh, in this endeavor. Maybe you join them, right? So there are two paths, and we need to choose. But as long as we do the what thing you love, and that everything comes into place, right? So the question is to you, which path you want to take? You want to take the path of the entrepreneur, which is a more risky, but inshallah also more rewarding, um, or you want to do the path of the employee.
You're asking me now, like just
I'm asking you now.
yeah. So here comes the fork in the road. If you
Yep.
my my gut feeling, just all in all, inshallah, Bismillah, I'm planning to go the entrepreneurship route. That's where I'm thinking and headed. And I'll give you my
Okay.
thought process.
Sure.
Why? Hamza, for being an employee, it's great. What I found in the past, all in all, Hamza, whenever I chose a job to do, I've always tried to be very selective in making sure that's the case. But subhanAllah, what I found about myself, talk about self-discovery, is that I like working with people, but not for people.
Okay.
If I sound like I have to work for someone, then all of a sudden there it gets muddled, and I'm like, you know what? Not to say that it's not an even playing field, right? I learn to give orders, learn to take orders. That's fine. It's just a matter of the dynamic. All in all, is that when it's like for someone, then it's for me. It's just I prefer like a flat hierarchy there,
Okay.
flat
Fair enough.
organization. So
Okay.
that's one thing. The second thing as well, when it comes to, this is actually the birth of Kalam, is because I have been looking around and I couldn't seem to find anything remotely similar to this that I could point to as an example. As
Mhm.
inspiration, I can say that Bain like opened the doors, like from Noman Ali Khan. He opened the door in terms of trying to bring the beauty of the Quran, and he approached it more of like, how do you understand it and relate to it in daily life, right? That's his cup of tea. And not only that, like, how do you learn the Arabic language? So
Mhm.
that's his like angle, and that's what he put forth. So in my case, I'm like, all right, using that same model and framework, but in the case, instead of giving tafsir, because it's important, and mashallah, plenty of scholars more qualified than I can do that. What I'm saying is, how do I use this Quran through the lens of communication? Like, look at the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, not just looking at the lessons of saying, about like his brothers and that I'm looking at the story of Yusuf alayhi salam and really concentrating and highlighting on the words of what he's saying, how he's saying it, dissecting it, and saying, all right, well, when again, I think I mentioned to you when the first time I met you, right? That was the prime example. When Yusuf alayhi salam was asking for the job, he didn't wait to be asked. Like, he didn't wait for an interview or something. He's like, give me the job, hire me, because I have the knowledge to do this. Egypt is in desperation, so let me give it to me. So I'm like, all right, in this case, how do I draw from that as Muslims? Okay, as Muslims, here's a lesson for us. Really be the smartest person in the room in terms of what you want to do. You want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be whatever you want to be, aside from the big three or whatever you want to endeavor. If you want to be a plumber, you want to be a construction worker, you got to make sure you know better than anyone else about that industry, and then you go after it. Like, you create opportunity. You don't wait for ad postings online. So something like that. And then the whole Quran is a full example, and the seerah of the Prophet, oh man, even more. So it's like plenty of things to work with.
I
And
see.
then yeah, so
I
that's, I
see.
hope that
So
yeah.
that's your thought process. That's good. So before we move forward, I want to also yeah, there are pluses and minuses, right, on each
Yeah.
round. And let's talk about the pluses of employee round. And the reason is that because some people say, oh, entrepreneurship, everything is cool, but
Yeah.
you have to cool down and see, I'm an entrepreneur, but also I have to cool down and say that you need employees as well. Like, not everybody is entrepreneur type, and you need employees as well. Otherwise, if everybody's entrepreneur, who's gonna do the job, right? Someone
Right.
needs to do the thing. So the what are the pluses of employee is that I will tell you this. You will have a city income, right? Your jobs are much more organized. You know what to do, like what's
Right.
expected of you. As long as you perform, you're good, right? Forget about the like lifetime jobs it used to be before, but you still can do that. The key is, but make sure that you do what you really care about, right? That's very key. Otherwise, I mean, the job becomes like you will spend 1/3 of your life on your job, right? If you
Yeah.
end up spending not you love, then probably it's not worth it. So the good thing is as a stability, and you know what you expect of you. They're like very structured in a way, and maybe hopefully that you will have good colleagues, good cause, right? That's very crucial. Um, However, there are also downsides to it, right? The downside to it, what is that depends, as you said, the many people they don't want to work for someone because of that character of that person, isn't it? Like, depend on who your boss is. If it's arrogant person, if he gives the orders you don't like, but many people have this tendency to you don't not to dislike their bosses, whatever the reason is.
Mhm.
So another thing is that your growth depends on. your company you work with, what you do, right? But otherwise, it's good employee. But so entrepreneurship, which is entrepreneurship, is now there are pluses and there are minuses as well. So let's start with the minuses because we want to be mindful of that. The minuses, minuses better than anybody right now. Uncertainty, right? Do you remember
Yeah.
the certainty, uncertainty? That's the uncertainty part. You don't know what's coming at you, and you have to make sure whatever you're going to offer is market is needed. Otherwise, like 9 out of 10 startups they fail, right? The companies they fail in the 6 to 2 years. So how do you create a value in the market that's unique and the people notice and people are willing to pay? You know what I mean? So it's not easy. However, though, if it does work and if you know how to scale and structure it, there comes a moment you do what you love, you're making a beautiful impact and positive impact. And if you structure your grow your company properly, there comes a time that you don't necessarily have to work, right? You can put the structure and process into work. Look at the wealthiest people in the world, right? Financially, who are they? They're entrepreneurs. They're not employees. They're entrepreneurs. Why? Because they reap the reward of the risks they did, and also they put systems in place. Now the systems work for them. They don't have to work, right? These are the on the plus side. So now you know the plus and minuses. It's not gonna be easy. If you still choose to be entrepreneur, I respect that. I'll honor that, and we will start on that route, I guess. Bismillah.
Yeah, that's the plan. And as well, there's I'm sure, mashallah, brother Maruf, like time doesn't permit like all the ins and outs of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Some I know like I'm hamda, at least I'm confident enough to say that I can see past the glamour and the glitz of, oh,
Mm,
I get to be my own boss. That's not what I'm trying to do. Like, I like to forge a path that isn't already existing. The uncertainty aspect, yes. The only thing is it's just financial, right? That's the only thing. Like you don't know. But the good news is that Hamza, we've been very careful not to put all our eggs in one basket right from the get-go. The worst thing I've heard stories, people throwing like $10,000 at something, $30,000 at something, and they didn't even test their own stuff. I'm like, man, like you don't need that. And see, I already did like the communication boost, $30. Didn't like if it didn't work out, didn't work out. That's okay. And it's like you just slowly just test. But if you can be methodical about it,
mm,
then I think that's the key. And ultimately, it's and mashallah, the other thing as well about entrepreneurship is, Paul, I want to be able to create opportunities, open doors for other people. You mentioned I can't. It's not a one-man show. I can't do
mm,
everything if you wanted to grow. I can't be the designer all the time. I can't be the advertiser all the time. You need to hire. You need someone who's an accountant. You need lawyers. You need like content creators. You need blog writers. You need all sorts of folks if you want it to be running smoothly. But in the beginning, it's like a jack of all trades. I'm wearing like all the hats right now, like the one who's making the videos, mashallah. But alhamdulillah, eventually it'll get to a point where people will start to wake up and say, oh man, because the thing is, I find, brother Maruf, is that with public speaking communication, I see, and you see it like Toastmasters, it's already, there is a need. It's just a matter of, for Muslims, like that's the only flavor to tackle and to highlight on. So when it comes to, inshallah, it's going to be a very up and
bumpy.
down kind of journey, but it's going to be fun. Like
If
I'm
someone may asking, if someone may asking that, why did you choose this niche? Like, why Muslim niche did you choose?
it's it's because I find a couple of things. One, alhamdulillah, I'm Muslim, and
Mhm.
I think I offer a unique perspective in the West. Although
Sure.
my Arabic isn't the greatest, I'm like, you know what? At least I can, inshallah, for English speaking folks like myself, right, who grew up here, US, Canada, and they can relate. They're like, I want to hold on to the deen in some way, but I just can't seem to articulate. And that's one thing. So at least I'm one of them, like in a way.
Mhm.
So that's one thing. So I have that unique proposition and value. The second thing, I'd say that when something's never been done before, unless if it's like a huge task, like going to Jupiter, like I'm not
Mhm.
going for something like that. But if it's something like this, where it's like I don't see anyone else doing it, I'm like, I like to take on that challenge.
Okay.
realistically. So it's
Okay.
more of a, no, like exciting, not knowing what the answer is at the back of the textbook. That's
I
pretty,
see.
and just
I see.
building
So
up.
let's do this. Like, Alhamdulillah. So now you thought about this because you know it was going to be a question. I mean, it's not like, I mean, for those who are listening or watching, I want to tell you is that this decision is not just like happens like this, right? Brother Muhammad know that we're gonna ask this question, so he thought about it. Alhamdulillah, and you can do the same. Whoever watching this. So one other thing I also want to tell those who are watching is so now, inshallah, and also Brother Muhammad, today, this is the main topic today, right? To make a decision, you chose the entrepreneurship, alhamdulillah. So now we'll move on to the next stage. The next stage is called the product. So when we talk about the product in the next video, it's not going to be just one session with a couple of, because this is the most
Yeah,
important part that a lot of people kind of understand is that we need to figure out now based on the brother Muhammad's talents and skills, how do we turn into something, a product, tangible product or service, right? So we need to think of, um, is it going to be coaching? Is it going to be a digital course? Is it going to be a hybrid? We don't know yet, right? We just need to. So until next time, brother Muhammad, I shall challenge you. You remember we went to do this forms of value. Go through them, which
yeah,
makes
right.
sense to you. You don't have to think about everything, but which those make sense to you, just think of like, and what we're gonna do, inshallah, is that next time we will starting from next time we'll discuss different let's say different ideas. Now you've been learning marketing as well, like who is the ideal client we are trying to serve and what is our offer specifically, right? And it's possible that we come up with an offer, we try the market, maybe market will not gonna say yes. So we'll have to come back to the market and offer something else until we find a place where the market says, yeah, that's something I want, right? Once we find
Oh,
that, we will go deep on that and to create more products or services and we'll build the other parts of the business. Does that make sense?
nice, mashallah. A quick thing, brother Maruf, if you don't mind. Like, so when it comes to there's this catch 22, right? Like, do you start with the product first, then you think about the ideal target audience, or do you start with the audience and then you build the product based on that? Any initial, like, I'm just trying to be as strategic as possible because what we've already experimented with so far is, I mean, we've tried the one-on-one coaching, we've tried, like, videos and things of that nature. What has been getting traction, I noticed, is like a 3 hour full on like event. That's Hamza. There's, although it's humble beginnings, it's like, at least some people have been willing to shell out some coin for that. So that's good. But I'm trying to figure out, Maruf, strategically, if you were to go back in time before halal ad, do you start with who, identifying who's your target audience and then like figure out what could I add to their life? Or do I start with what's this ultimate product I have and then figure out, okay, who would be able to use it?
That's a great question, right? So I will give you one story first, then I will
Sure.
give you an example what happened with Halal Ad. In our case is so there was a marketing professor, right, who are asking his students a similar question. Imagine you're opening a restaurant, right? What kind of audience do you want? Or what do you want? People said, I want this, I want that. Some people said, I want the Chinese audience. Someone said, I want Indian audience. Someone said this
Mhm.
and that. And in the end, the professor answered himself. He said, I want a hungry audience, right?
Okay, okay.
So so they were talking about the demographics of the thing, but he was talking about the core basic needs. So what I'm saying is, um, it any anything like substantial is starts with the need, right? The need and slash want, right? And so what happened with the halal ad is actually it's I think as many businesses it came. I was not sitting and thinking I'm going to launch halal ad. No, like it was as I said before, we launched this social network many years ago, like probably 8 years ago. We tried to run it. It was not a good success. I mean, many people thought it's a failure. Yes, it was, but we learned something. We had the section, ad section on the platform. People were coming and placing ads. You understand? So we knew the Muslim market is trying to sell a product. Our platform, it was okay for a moment, it didn't work out, but we knew people paid us. People paid us to place ads. We thought, interesting, that was working, right? And then we said, okay, maybe we don't have the traffic, but there are other people who do, right? Uh, if we can get the traffic, people were willing to pay. I mean, to be honest, think about 7, 8 years ago, especially the Muslim market, that's quite new for us. Like the whole economy is now growing, right? Islamic economy, call them. So then what we did is with and I'll add what we did is we kind of at the time it wasn't a marketing agency. What we did is like, okay, let's talk to other guys, Muslim websites and apps with a lot of traffic and offer them this service because they were using a Google AdSense, and Google AdSense sometimes there comes to non-halal things which you have no control of. And we began to offer that, and they liked the idea. They said, okay, so this has been our pain. We didn't know what to do. You guys are doing this job. We started offering this on the one side. We went to the publisher and said, guys, look, we have created the halal Google AdSense. Here's the code, use it. On the advertisers, we said, now we were reaching thousands of dollars. Now we can reach millions of people use this platform, right? And it was a good match. And that match came from the platform. We learned it was not a success, but we learned that, right? So what I'm saying is once it doesn't matter whatever it is, but you have to do something. You have to ship something to the market. It does work, it may not work. But if you're careful, you can always learn what didn't work and what worked, right? So from that insight, we built the halal ad. But later on, halal ad, we're doing that, and alhamdulillah, there comes a moment that people were reaching out to us, Maruf or the team, can you guys help us with the marketing on Facebook, other places? We used to say, no, no, no. We are just ad network, we want to focus on that. But we also understood this market is not that big as we thought at the time. We said, why are we limiting ourselves, right? Instead, we should listen to what the customers are want and let's give them what they want. Do you want Facebook marketing? Okay, we learned that and we started offering that. You understand? So suddenly, for our customers, we're getting amazing results. At the end of the day, think about it. Customers didn't care if their customers came from other Muslim website, right? It's okay if they're helping Muslims, but as a business, business is a business. They want customers, right? If you can get them from Facebook, they are happy. If you can get them from YouTube, they are happy. So by just listening to customers, shifting that, our revenue like 10x in a couple of months, right? So what I'm saying is the number one key, all of the point going back is you should always listen to the customer and the need. Like why we did starting with you though, we want to know what you're good at. We want to know what you're really care about, right? So our job, do you remember on the Ikigai? One of the things
Yeah,
is what the world needs. Imagine
yeah.
what the customer needs. It's so crucial, right?
I think,
So
yeah,
so on the one side, imagine you are good at and you care about. On the other hand, what the world needs, what the people are actual problem. Once you put them together, and then when you're actually serving a need, then figuring out how to get paid becomes easier, right? So on what so for us it was an agency, right? We serve you, get your help you get your clients, and you pay us monthly fee, right? For the agency, for example. For halal ad, it's like you place an ad monthly or yearly, and depends on your how much your traffic you pay. So it's very, very easy and transparent, and people understand that. So that's the answer to your question. What I'm saying is that the question is now we know you care about the communication, right? For Muslims. On the other end, we need to find out what people need or want in the communication, right? Sometimes it's a direct communication, sometimes it's something else, but we know for sure there's a need. We just need to meet that, match that need, and then figure out how to get paid. Does it make sense?
mashallah, makes sense. Jazakallah khairan. At least as you're speaking, like what's running through my head, like in terms of the needs, in terms of the ideal customer, off the offhand, right? I'm just spitballing here. It's like getting comfortable with public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the need in one way. How to get comfortable with public speaking. I think that's it. Now, how do we go about doing that? Yeah, you can do trainings, um, blog, like you can do a number. So that's just the how. Fair, mashallah, very cool. And jazakallah khair for sharing your story about halal ad. It's very neat. It's funny how it's a lot of cases like it's really rare that you hit the bullseye right from the get-go. It's like you start something and then you realize, oh my goodness, people actually care about this. Let's double down on this particular aspect. And
So
very,
even right now, right, you're assuming that people may do this, right? When we launch it, this, right?
yeah.
And when you launch this, then people actually either do that or they don't, right? But you can learn, right? And another thing I was thinking is think about the communication, right? It could be public speaking, it could be confidence, it could be getting a job, it could be getting anything they want in life, right? But the key is the how they communicate. themselves in a situation,
Yeah.
right? So, however, like the question is now, which one where you can earn money? Imagine, right? Who are the people who can afford your fees? For example, let's imagine if someone is working at a job, right, and someone is a student, based on their need, someone who is working are we know that they can pay. We know
Yeah.
that, right? Then compared to a student. So then you say, okay, if this can actually can pay, what services can I do? For example, if someone is working at a job company, maybe you can give them a course or a coaching how to promote, how to go upper, right? For example, what are the skills they need to go up? If you look at the current society, to go up, you need the skills, but you also need the communication skills. The communication is a part of leadership, right? How do you want to be a leader? You have to learn how to communicate properly. So I'm just giving you like ideas. I'm like different ideas like to dive into. The reason I'm telling you about the agencies, that agency work with the companies and startups. We know maybe not startups, but companies do have money. We know they are making money. What we are saying is, look, you are making, let's say, 100K. Let us help you to make 200K. And how much are you willing to pay? It's just easy, you know.
Mhm.
Like if someone's making 100K per month, if you help them 200K, anybody with a decent understanding, they're willing to pay, percent of the extra revenue, right? It's so easy. So what I'm asking is like, in your job, you should. It doesn't make sense. Like it's very
Yeah.
clear value. It's like very
You need.
clear outcome. The question is, in your thing, if you talk about communication, here's the thing: people have different ideas, right? Different
Yeah.
ideas, different things. Do you remember one of the things we talked last time is that people do not buy a drill.
Yeah. They
Imagine
buy
drill.
not the. Yeah.
Drill is a communication. You're trying to sell a drill. Do not sell the drill. Sell
Mm.
what? And some people say it's a hole in the wall. No, do not even buy a hole in
It's
the wall.
the frame, right? Yeah.
It's
It's
not
like
even the frame. What is it?
the memory of watching the like. Yeah. There you go. So like you
Love and
extrapolate.
connection. Love and connection.
Right.
Do you remember all the six core and beliefs? And that's what it is. So question is, how do you connect your communication to the core of the need and sell that? That's what you're gonna sell, not the communication.
Right. Mashallah, you're right. You have to think way beyond. So it's not
Way,
like,
way
oh,
beyond.
you're a good speaker. Okay, it's not about that. It's like you can make it easier to get along with people.
Okay,
Like
why?
that's
Like
yeah.
why? Like ask why
So
is it should come to one of those core issues. Like, is
right.
it the safety? Is it certainty? Is it uncertainty? Is it
Uh,
significance? Is it love? Is it learning and growth? Or is it the giving and grant? Or is it your needs, like core needs? Remember, that's why we
like
learn them.
that I get mashallah, right? Like that's very cool, man. So like the idea of like significance. If you feel competent, then you're gonna feel significant. Like if you know that you can walk into any situation and talk your way out of a paper bag, then wouldn't you want to know that? Like, wouldn't you feel like, okay, I'm in good shape, and no more fear of random meetings?
Mhm.
Like, wouldn't
Could
that
be,
be nice, right?
yeah.
So that's one
Or
example.
or maybe if you're a manager, how to make that your team members, employees, instead of hating you, they begin
Motivated.
to love you and they
Yeah.
wanna follow you, not like just follow your order, but they want to follow you because you inspire them.
Turning leaders or managers into, yeah. Pause. By the way, side note, there is a story. There's a short story about this. It's called Two Words, and essentially, it's exactly what you're talking about. There was this one guy. I think it's a fictional story. He traveled all this way, and he's a leader, but he was feared. And he said, "I want to be loved." And so she says two words to him. We don't know what those two words are, but it changed his life. And so that's it. So that's one desire. It's like, do you want to be feared or do you want to be loved? I remember somebody put like, yes, I want to be feared so much that they love me or something. I want them to love to fear me, right? Like it's so I think at the end of the day, you would want your employees to not lay their life on the line for you, but you want to be able to have people who have your back at any point. It's much better than, oh man, like always walking on eggshells. It's very uncomfortable for everyone. So I
One
hear
of
you,
the
Masha.
one of the lines I remember from Zig Ziglar, I mean, it's very powerful. He says, "You can get anything you want in life as long as you're willing to give what they want. As long as you are, I think, as long as you are willing to have what they want." I mean, like I
Yeah.
think it's similar to that lines. What I'm saying is that imagine the communication, a tool to help people get almost anything they want in life. Remember, if you do your communication properly, if you do a proper dua, there's no
Oh
limit
yeah.
what you can get. right?
MashaAllah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the communication, isn't it? If you
Like,
can talk to people properly, you can get in many things done, right? So look at from that angle, but then you have to say which is whose audience can pay to what I'm trying to teach, right? You cannot teach everybody.
no, you're
Uh,
right. So like
so
have different levels, different
different
tiers, like
profiles that we get you have to test, right? Out of them,
mm,
who can afford to pay.
mashallah. One other thing, Brother Maruf, if I may, like, do you have any book recommendations? Or I know you, mashallah, you mentioned the 12 value, like that was
Mm.
really great. Like it was a great way to kind of identify and cultivate that. Is there, I'm looking for more of a resource where again, I'll just scratch everything, pretend I put all my assumptions aside, and let's just
Mm.
say someone to walk me through it from a book. Like, look, you want to start a business, great. Now let's find out how do you get to like almost streamlining the process of you coming up with the ideal product. Maybe a questionnaire you need to ask yourself, or maybe there's a strategy as to identifying what it is that like the ikigai is a great way of doing that. You know how it's like there's that tool where you got to cross this. Okay, mashallah, looks like communication hits the mark. Is there any book like that that takes you from idea or just the prospective idea to help figure out what is there anything like, so instead of me just like thinking about it all the time, like just wondering maybe someone already thought of a process and I just plug it to A to Z.
That's the process we are going through.
Yeah.
By the way, but the question is in terms of books. Let me think about this.
Any
I
like
don't.
something to speed along, like like for example, like Tony Robbins's 6 core human needs. It's a great way for us to think ahead, like and say this is a tool for us, this is good for us to think about. It's a tool. The problem is that he doesn't walk you through
Mm,
exactly like how do you use it, right? Like he's just saying this is what it is, this is like half the story. Now it's like, okay, now what do I do with this? Like how am I supposed to, like maybe I can
let
keep
me look
asking.
through. Let me think through like if there's a couple of books because the thing is that the business every business is different, right?
Yeah.
You wish there was a business book you can read in, but maybe I'm just thinking a higher level of where we can go through the process. Let me think about this. And I will get back to you, inshallah.
All right, Jazakallah. I'm looking for like something to make it simpler. I'm not saying to give me all the answers from day one, but at least something to structure it a bit more. This is great. It's like a structure within a structure is my point
Mm,
here. That's all.
I got it. I got it. Okay, so that's it for today, and let's talk, inshallah, next Juma.
Okay, man.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.